Good evening, good evening. Welcome to the man's edition of Creative Emotions. I'm Chef Wilson. I got two special guests with me today. As usual, it's my belief no one can introduce you the way you can. So I'm always going to start from my right. With my special guest here, could you please introduce yourself to the people? It's first time on. Tell them a little bit about yourself, too.
Hey, my name is Sean. I'm Mr. Wright, as Chef has introduced me as. I'm a Chrysler worker. I'm a plant worker. Just a student of the game in all aspects.
Okay. I like student of the game. All right. So I know you went all over the place in younger years with that Mr. Wright. You know what I'm saying?
Look, I had to mature and come out of the Mr. Right now. You know what I'm saying? So bring a little bit more humility. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. And to my left, please introduce yourself. I'm sure everybody know you by now, but can nobody do it the way you can?
Yes, sir. Hello, how everybody doing? Welcome to Creative Promotions. We want to give a shout out to my girl Q for letting us be on here. My name is Mr. Randy X. Thank you for having us once again. We truly appreciate it. We've been really anticipating and waiting to come back on the show to really get some feedback about what everybody really needs and want and need to hear, and encouragement and motivation. And so, thank you for having us again, my brothers and sisters.
All right. So the title of our show topic today is Special Order. What motivated me about this particular show was I did write a poem, in which I'm going to read at the end of the show. And also several of lady friends I had, they came to me and really their desire was to be married. And they just couldn't figure out why men were not committing to them with all the good qualities they felt they had. So some of the common ones that I did hear was, Fred, I got a job, my credit is good, I own my own home, I have a car, I go to church, what's happening here, right? And after talking just a couple minutes with them and me sharing some of the things I felt, they said, well, I never heard that before. I said, so who you been talking to? My girls, So when you are requiring to be a wife, you have to look at the mental and the mindset of a man. The things that you feel may be important to you may not necessarily be important to a man. How do you feel about that, Sean?
You're right on that. As we were speaking before the show started, those physical aspects have become less and less important. I look more so for the spiritual. What is you bringing to the table spiritually? So, what is your inner man looking like? How patient are we? How humble are we? Are we bringing meekness? Do you have your own personal joy and peace?
Oh,
love?
wow. Wow.
You have to bring that into the relationship first before you can service and care for someone else. You have to have self-love.
I like that, Mr. Wright.
Oh, yes, sir.
Randy, and then, how about yourself? How do you feel about that when a woman comes and she leaves with the credit, the house, the car, the home? Is that very important to you? Or, what's really important to you when you hear that, when you're talking to a young lady?
I really like what the brother just said.
Mm-hmm.
The brother was on point with what he just said. But like in the midst, a lot of women be saying that they are seeking for a certain type of man, right? But we know society has put a certain type of persona upon men nowadays, because a lot of women do have themselves together, right? We talking about on the financial level, but just because they are on point financially don't mean that they on point spiritually, right? Like a lot of people out here nowadays don't even love themselves. They don't even know themselves, so they actually don't know for the type of man that they seeking for. Okay. Right? Everybody just so superficial and thinking about a finance aspect of things.
Okay.
Like, what can a person bring to the table for as money and things like that.
Okay.
But if a person already has that, you shouldn't be seeking for another person to help you out in that type of area. You're supposed to be seeking for individuals that's willing to build you up, encourage you, support you, love you unconditionally, and things like that. But we'll get off. I don't want to go too deep into it. But I'm just saying, I'm a deep individual. No.
Yes, you are. Now, both of you brothers said spiritually. And the first thing that comes to mind is when your foundation is spiritual, it comes into most of your actions and decision makings, and your thoughts and words proceed out your mouth are going to be led with some integrity. How do you feel about that?
Integrity has to be first and foremost, I believe. You have to stay true to yourself. Mm-hmm. You have to be honest. I had to learn that. That was a quality that I had to learn, because I found out that going through and trying to unpack my own personal trauma, mm-hmm. I'm hiding certain things, and I'm not being honest with myself. So I have to be honest with me, so I can be honest with my mate.
Absolutely.
So I can have that reciprocated.
And I must tell the audience, you are married, right? So we get a different perspective of this. How long have you been married now?
17 years. My wife and I just celebrated 17 years on July 15th.
Man, my brother, you are certified.
What you say, life certified?
You life certified. So before I go, I got to get back to you.
Okay.
Randy, integrity. Would that be, let's say if we had a list of the top 5, we know we have more than that. Where would you place integrity in your top 5?
I would place it in number 1.
All right.
Integrity means everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because it's not what you would do in the presence of others.
I like
it's
that.
It's what you would do when you're alone.
Mm-hmm.
So you are forced to be true to yourself when you by yourself. That's why it's so important to spend time with yourself. That's when you identify who you are.
Absolutely. I like that. That right there. Integrity is very, very important to me for the very reasons why what you just said. When I'm not around, how does your decision making look when I'm not there to influence you, right? My presence. So that's integrity brings you home on time at night, right?
Sir.
Integrity keeps you out of certain circles, right? Integrity will have you not place yourself in uncomfortable situations in which you're going to have to explain later. So I do like that part. Mm-hmm. Mr. Wright, so out of 17 years of marriage, how difficult, and I'm just going to use that word, has it been to manage a marriage in a modern day world?
I was thankful enough to be out of the game after social media came along.
Okay. All right.
Social media brought a whole different aspect and light to dating and that whole situation. You have to ask a lot of questions now in the dating scenario.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's a lot of lack of trust now that I'm finding speaking to other women. Mm-hmm. For the lack of better words, fellas, the women say the guys out here are trash, and there's no more wealth in a man. There's no more there's no more need for a man because I can go out and figure it out on my own. That's the type of things that I'm getting and I'm hearing from women now.
Yeah, and I just to comment on that, I had looked at it from another perspective also, and I think I talked about it before, and I said guys were finally getting it, right? So after so much conversation about I'm strong, independent, I can do this on my own, I think men have probably, I'm just going to dip in and dip out of this, they finally say, okay, I got it. So what happens in this particular situation is guys just stop trying as much because they'll say, well, she's okay. She's fine. She got this, right? So then a lot of women say, well, where the chivalry? How about asking me if I'm okay? Well, even before that man may have gotten to that woman, he probably heard a half a dozen different times, I'm good, I'm straight, I got this.
Right.
Right? So it's no need for me to address that anymore because she's good. You know why? Because she's looking like the rest. She talked about her credit, her home, her car, her career. She's good. This type of woman always has it under control. Right? So I think we had talked about on Battle of the Sexes. So men, what happens here is they're going to go for the softest part, right? So usually they'll go in that area, the romance area, because that's like, hey, I know she need me there.
Right.
Right, and that's when the trash come in because they figure that's all guys want. No, actually, they just feel like that's the only way I can be there for you. So just to address that part.
Right.
All right. So I'm just going to get back to the requirements. And when I was talking to a few of my friends, and a couple of my requirements was the ability to bring peace and not tear down everything I've worked for thus far. That was very important to me. Do you have the ability, we always say to bring something to the table, integrity be right there, and then the ability to bring some peace, right? At the end of the day, I think that's what you're seeking. When you park your car, you get out, you walk in that home if you're married, or you may just be living with a woman, or she may be coming to your place. But just the ability at the end of the day, can you bring peace? Can you come in my life with some integrity and not with dating fantasies to tear down everything I work for, right? That I have to support your dating fantasies financially. So that was just a couple of my things. So I'm going to start to my right again. When you were dating before, maybe courting your wife, what were some of the things that you were looking for up front?
When my wife and I were dating, we were honest with one another. We laid everything out on the table. We were upfront with one another. We told each other about our financial situations, everything. I mean, we were very open with one another.
Okay.
And honest. I had a child prior to her and our relationship. I had to put that out on the table. I couldn't hide that from her and then expect her to come back in and then accept it later on. You know what I mean? That's not integral.
Okay.
That's not integral. So I had to be forced to be what I wanted or what I expected.
I was just about to ask you because it sounded like you were looking for some honesty and some understanding, right? So you're probably requiring the same thing out of her since you put yourself in a position to have to be transparent and to be honest. So it sounds like honesty and transparency and accountability was high on your list too, right? Absolutely. If I'm understanding you right.
Absolutely.
Okay, mine too.
Sorry.
And then if you had to name a couple things other than we talked about, Randy, that would probably be high on your list, just a couple things, what would they be?
Well, I would say, like, when you first get to courting someone, you got to let things happen naturally. I believe that a lot of people come right in the door being very forceful. They try to push their circumstances and situations on the other person immediately. Like me, I'm a firm believer that things happen when they supposed to happen. But a lot of us get impatient off the gate. And a lot of people, you know, with the attraction part, a lot of people be really lustful. People mix up the word love for lust a lot of times. And because you're craving, right?
Absolutely.
See, we get to craving things. Whenever you do things, how can I explain this? When you go to the extreme in doing things, it's hard to be able to pull back because you haven't graduated, I shall say, in that department of patience, being humble.
Like
you haven't really learned humility, you know. But like we said, though, I look for a person to be genuine, right? You got to be genuine and you got to let things happen naturally. Because when you come and you meet someone, the energy, which is synonymous to spirit, right, it's going to happen naturally. When you start forcing things and pushing your beliefs or understandings and stuff like that on other people, it'd be good at first, but all the truth will come to light.
Okay. So it sounds like with listening to you that you're probably seeking a woman that has some self-control with her body, okay, and her desires.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you're just tuning in, we're talking about special order. So we're talking about the things that man truly require when seeking companionship or marriage. We have on today's show, we have myself and Randy, which are single, but then we have Mr. Wright, which is married, right? So he's going to bring a different perspective, and I'm going to talk to him about that. The things that you require, how do they play out in a marriage? And was it a developing period? Because like Randy was just saying, a lot of people just want things to happen right away. Mm-hmm. So you've been married for 17 years. So the things that you were requiring, did they take some time to develop even in your marriage? And then if so, how did you practice your patience along the way?
Absolutely. In our situation, it took time to develop. We're both two individuals coming from two different households, two different mindsets. Yes. So of course there's going to be a clash there, at some point. But we started off with a good foundation, and we built a friendship first, as opposed to, being certain kind of buddies. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
We wanted to have a certain kind of standard in our relationship, and as we developed in our relationship, it became more and more passionate that we do that, and we hold our standards very high because we don't want to allow any disrespect, even though that has happened in our relationship. To be transparent and honest, you know what I'm saying? I learned in developing these qualities that, and going back to Randy X's point earlier, what women are looking for is leadership. I had to show patience. I had to show temperance, so I can get that reciprocated, Chef.
Yes.
I had to be the leader in that.
Yes.
But it took time for me to learn that and develop that, though. And my wife was patient with me on that.
Yes,
very patient. Shout out to my wife, Lindsay Wright, on that. Please.
All right, Ms. Wright. And the reason why I asked you that question is because we are talking about the things that we require for women. But just to let the women and the men know that, hey, these things are not going to happen overnight. Even though you require them, right, it may be a growth process. So we need to have temperance, some patience along the journey. Right. And if there's 17 years of marriage, you most definitely are certified in that area. So I thank you for that. Now, one other thing I had on that was important to me is the ability for a woman to hold on to her feminine energy and not abandon that part of her life, embracing her purpose in life or her passions and financial goals. Right?
Yes, sir.
Sometimes I see that in life. They will abandon the feminine part to pursue financial goals, their passions, and wonder why once they accomplish all these things, now I'm a shoe-in, right? But the part that happens when you're out here, for a better words, hustling, and you're making these things happen, some women, not all, will abandon that part. And that's the part which is important to us. That's what we come home to. That's when we call you for a date. That's what we want to experience because we've been doing the same thing you've been out here doing, right? So we want to experience that part. Other than that, I'll just call Randy and go hang out with him. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
I'm coming in for some feminine vibes,
That's right.
All the way around. So that was one of my requirements. That's the other thing that I look for. So, how do you feel about that, Randy? Is that something you agree with, or how important is that to you?
Well, I believe that that's very important, but, what I look for in a woman is encouragement. A lot of times, a lot of women always try to point out, the wrong in a guy, right? we as men, we need encouragement. We need
Yes.
support mentally, not physically and all that. But I believe that you should aid and assist your man if he needs some help in a certain area. But
Absolutely.
I believe that all men should have themselves together and striving to maintain their financial stability at times. But we understand that things do help in their life. But a lot of people be so focused on that they miss out on their blessings, because I believe that God sends people to you in shapes in different forms at different times. Like, so a lot of people need to humble themselves, because God can send an angel to you in a certain type of way, and you miss it because you focus on a particular type of person and you miss out on your blessings.
Mm-hmm. And I like you saying about the encouragement, because when I look at that part, I was listening to something a couple weeks ago, and I was listening to T.D. Jakes, and he was saying you can never see your greatness because you're just so busy being you, right? So the encouragement part is when you're trying to develop something, it may be some type of program or business, and you have a little doubt in your mind. And since you can't see your greatness, if you're blessed enough to have that woman there, she can. So at the end of the day, encouragement is very important.
Absolutely.
You know, and those words that she chooses to say to you can speak life into you. You know, like, baby, you are amazing. You're very creative. And I just like this program that you're coming up with, it's really going to pick up. Now, it may be a little bit slow, but I just want you to know that just have a little patience. It's coming. I see it, right? So it's like when a parent speaks to a child, and with my children, I tell them all the time, I say, you are very creative. Whatever I see in them, I encourage it, right? And then they believe it, and my children are doing very good in their studies. So I believe you saying that is very, very important, that encouragement, because at the end of the day, and I speak at the end of the day, because when you get up, you're battling the world, and the world, it's not so encouraging. And you may go in a bathroom and have a little pep talk with yourself, but still you had to get through that day. So at the end of the day, that encouragement that you get from that next closest person to you in life is very, very important. How do you feel about that, Mr. Roy?
You right on. You were speaking to some things I was just thinking about, Chef. You were talking about her words. In learning and growing in those characteristics, I had to learn that that's one of the most powerful things that I have is my word. It can paint the most prettiest of dreams, or it can paint a nightmare. Your words are your gift from the Creator.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
To mold and to shape, and to really, really beautify and man, just add and glorify to what gifts He's giving you.
Absolutely.
Come on.
Yeah,
man.
that's the power of your word. Your word is supposed to be encouraging, like you said. It's supposed to be upbuilding. So I had to go back within my own closet, Chef, and I had to analyze and do some inventory and say, hey, are you making your word impeccable? Are you making your word absolute truth? Truth has no substitute.
Yeah.
Truth is truth.
All right, I like that one. Yeah, I'll give you some on that.
Yes, sir.
Those words are so powerful. I still remember as a young man, just from my dad told me a lot of things, but just coming from a woman, I remember a lot of things my mom said to me, and I believe to today, and it helped me to develop to who I am.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it took me a while to get there because I got distracted, but I still remember the words she spoke into my life. So I would encourage ladies, be careful when you're speaking words to the person that you are thinking
Somebody
about.
calling in.
Oh, we got a caller?
Caller, you're on the air.
You're on air. Welcome to Man's edition of Creative Promotions. Who am I speaking with?
Hi, you are speaking with Q. What's up?
What's up, Q?
What's up, Q?
What's
Now,
up?
this is the lady that will speak some encouragement into your life, right?
Good
This
vibes.
one
Oh,
right
my
here. Now,
Thank
I
you
still
so
remember
much.
things you told me. Man. Now, I'm going
That's
to tell
what's
you
up.
guys, and I'm not just saying that, a conversation with Q you get off the phone, you feel like Superman. I'll be like, where my cape at? I don't even need the phone booth. Give me my cape. I'm about to go do this. How you doing today?
That is awesome and amazing. I am so glad to be of service. I am doing great. I am listening to you guys. I thank you guys so much for being transparent, for really telling us your heart on things, because we do have two aspects or two perspectives on how things are. We definitely took a turn as women being a little bit more independent, but I can say personally, being independent is because every time a man did something, he wanted something in return. So even if you didn't want to be a quote unquote hoe or trick, that's what it came out to be, at the end of the day. And so you had women fighting for the individuality or just that independence to say, okay, I didn't screw my way to the top.
Absolutely.
Or I didn't, a man didn't pay me, to drive this car, or I didn't, so it didn't have so much to do with you guys versus us having a little self-respect for how we got what we got or where we are, as far as in the working field or whatever the case may be. So, it's not always about you guys when it comes to how we are not in position. It's a lot more about us and how we're looking at it. If that makes any, consolation on, how you guys may feel it's a difference. So that's just my perspective on it. I just wanted to, bring that up. It's unfortunate, but it's definitely happening. And I just want to thank you guys. Thank you guys again for just telling your part of how things make you feel.
Yeah, and thank you for your perspective also.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Have a great show.
Yes. So which leads me into the next thing that I wanted to talk about. And that one thing is the things that we require. And I'm just going to say, ladies, be careful of just realizing that not all social media trends are healthy ones, because they could just possibly damage your image as a lady or possibilities as a future wife, because it's called it's called media footprinting, so it never goes anywhere. So just to follow the latest trends may not be conducive for what you want to become. So we have to be careful with that part as ladies, because we look at that. You meet somebody, you do the same thing to us. You go to the page, you see what she posting, right? And then you, after looking at this, say, well, wow, she needs a lot of validation from the world, not just me. She's going with the latest trends. And if you had enough experience in life, it's a process. And then in your mind, this goes with that. So you have to be very careful with that, lady. So make wise decisions when it comes to that. Not only that, you are raising daughters in the house, so it passed down a mindset. I remember an old saying, and I'm just speaking of social media trends right now, and what men are looking at. I remember the older people saying, children will do as you tell them, and then they do as they see you do. So when we following these trends, we have to be very, very careful to break that cycle, or you may just have another generation of ladies saying, well, hey, I got good credit, I have all this. How come the guys are not asking me to get married? Right? So we do look at that part. We look at your Facebook page. Employers do also. Right? So when you're chasing trends, all that, you may just be damaging something. I will say once again, your desire to be a wife in the future, right? Someone's companionship, right? So, I mean, how do you guys feel about with this Facebook? And we're just talking about women right now and things that we require. Is that something that you look at, Randy, or it's not very important to you?
I mean, it's not very important to me pertaining to that, but we know that social media is a blessing and a curse at the same time, because a lot of people, perceptions end up being false because they get to placing their reality amongst someone else's reality. And instead of just being themselves and loving themselves, the black woman nowadays don't understand that she is the queen. She is the queen. And in order for her to identify that she is the queen that she is, she just got to continue to believe in herself and love herself and God. Keep God first in your life, my sister. And God will send that special man to you. Don't be in a rush to get the special man that you are seeking and looking for, because long as you line yourself up in God's and do God's will, He will manifest that special man at this particular time for you.
We have another caller. I'll let you take this one.
Caller, who's there?
This is Meek.
This is who?
Meek.
Nick.
Okay.
How you
Okay.
doing, Nick?
Yeah.
How you doing this evening?
What's your
I'm
question
all right.
you got, or your comment?
Oh no, I was just listening to you guys. No, honestly, like on the real, I think women are kind of raised and steered to hate men from the beginning, which is just like men. You know, we're exposed to some things too. You know, the image of women coming up. You know, so when we get older, there's a lot of hatred already. You know, building up.
Okay.
When it comes to men, you know, it's always like little words. Words mean a lot.
Yes.
So you know, you know, I go, oh, men ain't nothing, and every man the same, and it's like kind of a brainwash, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, you know, we have the media that portrays it in movies and all type of stuff. It is verse vital. It goes for the men too. You know, we grow up and we kind of get taught, oh, women ain't nothing. So, you know, it's like, it's really hard when it comes down to it. But I like how y'all hit the friendship earlier. The friendship is the key.
Okay. So would that be in your top 5?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's what we're doing, people, here. We're just getting the perspective from all men. It's going to look different. So our caller said his would be, once again, can you tell the listening audience?
Basically, like, it's like a brainwash, you know. We gotta, like you said earlier, you know, we gotta watch what we say around kids, and then it's kind of hard because, like I said, social media betrays it a lot too. Movies and all type of stuff, or how men are portrayed to be, or how women are portrayed to be. But on the low key, it's way better than that. You know, when you do get in a relationship and you find that friend, you know, it's actually, you know, cool to have somebody by your side.
Okay.
But, you know, like I said, with media and then coming up, just that fear, definitely with women, oh, don't trust no man. That's, you know, that's like brainwashing, you know, so.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Thank you, my young brother.
Yes, we
Thank
thank
you.
you for your input and calling in, and you have an amazing evening.
You guys too. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So it brings me to the point of, and one other thing I had on my list is to understand and embrace God's original plan for your life as a woman. I believe for me that is very, very important, because that has to be part of the conversation. You know, I'm way past grown up, so just to hear what your favorite restaurant is, where you like to travel, that's cool, right? But I just want to see through our conversation, are you connected? You know, you don't have to be all the way there with your purpose, but just realize that you have a purpose in life other than the way that you look. And then you kind of realize conversations will change, guys. This is me personally. And I think that the requirements will be a lot more clear to you what men require, right? So for me, it would be that, have you tapped into why you're really here? Right? It's almost like a woman requiring a man to be financially stable, right? I want you to be spiritually stable, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Yes. And that means to me that you're not following the latest trends. You blazing your own path. And to me, that's sexy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
You know,
That's just to me.
You know, I can't mess with a woman if she don't have God first in her life. You know, because I truly believe that won't no woman or man reach their true potential in life unless they're connected to the source, which is Allah, which is God. If you are lacking in that area of your life, you need to start tapping into the inner voice of God. You know, like when you have God first in your life, you ain't doing nothing but tapping into yourself.
Yes.
We call it the hidden voice, right? And the black woman really don't know how special she is because the black woman is the second self of God. I identify with that myself personally because, you know, I'm a man of God. And, you know, I'm going to just give y'all a short breakdown right quick, right?
All right.
When a woman is really connected to God, she's able to alert us
Absolutely.
when we out of pocket in a lot of different areas in our life. But if the man is not connected, he is not going to be able to identify when the woman is alerting you. Like when she say, baby, you don't need to go out with your friends. We supposed to listen to her because God is tapping into her, right, to share with you because you lost at that time and you was moving in a certain type of light, right? Then we should say, baby, you don't need to be around this individual, right? We don't listen to him because we moving from a different type of spirit. It's a negative and a positive spirit, right? It's a cause and effect to everything that we do in life. That's why when the brother, right, was talking about the tongue earlier, right, the word is very powerful. Words is very powerful, right? Because what you put in the universe, you get back in return. So if you putting in the universe that you trying to do some positive things is going to manifest itself to you.
Absolutely.
But if you moving in the negative light, that type of energy and spirit is going to come to you as well. So the black woman is very powerful, but you must be able to, as men, identify who you are first in order to be able to give her the gratification of what she needs, brother.
Absolutely. And thank you for that.
Chef, can I touch on something Randy was just talking about?
Go ahead. No, go ahead and touch on it. We passing this.
Yes, sir. Randy, you talked about making our word impeccable, man. And going back to my wife and I's relationship and growing with one another, we had to recognize where the source is.
Yes, sir.
Where is the source? We walking and looking and passing by the source every day. You look in the mirror, you looking at the source. So we had to recognize, okay, if I know the source is in her, I have to honor and obey that and to praise that source.
Yes, sir.
Say no different than what I'm doing with you, Chef. You asked me. That was the universe coming to me and asking me to come on this podcast and come on the show because somebody needs to hear something.
Yes.
So I had to be obedient to the source.
Yes. And you know that when we first met and then we worked together, right? And I was playing music. Remember, you know me, right?
Absolutely.
But then we had our conversation and stuff. And what led me back to you was encouraging words.
All right.
Right?
Yep.
So that just goes back to what Randy was saying about a woman's ability to encourage her man or her mate or her future husband. Very, very important, those words, right? Those words you vest in can quite naturally have you receive what you require or desire, right?
Absolutely.
It's an investment you're putting into the bank.
Right.
The other thing that I had on the list, and I'm going to see how important this is for you guys as we wind it down here, just the ability as a woman to understand how important legacy is to a man in his life, his legacy. That can come in what that would look like through his children,
All right.
through his purpose in life. And it's almost like your reputation, your character, right? So, you know, how do you feel about that? Is that very important that a woman understands and supports you in the area of your legacy? How important is that to you?
Absolutely important. It's got to be in the top 5, I would say. We are in the we're in this relationship to ultimately become one. If you break down your just look at your arm and how the makeup of your arm. You know what I'm saying? You got your phalanges here in your hand. You have 2 bones here in the forearm, right? That lead up to one bone. Break that word down, bone. Be one.
Wow, look at this dropping nuggets.
Be
I'm
one.
gonna give you some.
We are ultimately supposed to become one with one another. Mindset, thinking, we got to move in one direction.
Absolutely.
Come on now, I like it there, brother.
Sir.
You know, harmony, the word harmony is very powerful in itself because when you hear the word harmony, the topic actually pops up with that special order.
Absolutely.
Right. So y'all moving accordingly. When you with a woman and y'all moving in harmony with each other on every level, mentally, spiritually, physically, mentally, right? That's very powerful.
Yeah.
That's when y'all get to saying words is coming out each other's mouth before the other person say it, because that's how connected that y'all are with each other. Like, man, I was just thinking that, right? Because y'all in harmony with each other. That's very powerful.
Yes.
But the other thing that's very powerful is when you're in harmony with God. When you're in harmony with God, brother, all the universe come to you. But once you out of harmony with God, all the negative things in the universe come to you too. So, you know, when a person, the black woman and the black man, be able to identify with themselves, with harmony and special order falls in play to themselves. Right? Now, when we talk about on the mental, we're saying that you got to feed yourself knowledge every single day. And the more and more you have conversations with other individuals, that's how wisdom comes into the manifold. Right? It's because now you learning. Like, I believe that a lot of people I've read a lot of books, right? But I actually believe that experiences throughout your life is more meaningful than reading a book. Because when you go through something, you're supposed to learn from it.
Yeah,
You know, you suppose. You see, I put that word in there. You suppose, but sometimes everybody's tolerance level is different than others. You might have to bump your head a couple more times before you get it right. Yes, I knew I wasn't supposed to do this the first time, right? But it wasn't meant for me to learn that lesson at that time.
Absolutely.
Because my tolerance level, I had a couple more lumps I needed on top of my head, right? So God knows that, because we know that everything happened for a reason, brother.
Absolutely.
Everything happened for a reason. So a lot of women out there is seeking for certain guys, right? But things happen for a reason. God haven't sent that special man to you because it's not time. People got to be very careful in what you are seeking for.
Absolutely.
Right? Because if God gives you someone, right, special, a man that you've been looking for, or a lady that you've been looking for, you might even you haven't prepared yourself for that individual at that time, so you might lose her because you haven't matured in a certain area that God needed you to mature in.
All right.
So continue to be patient, and everything will come to you.
Absolutely. I have, thank you for that. And that was very, very powerful, Randy. I had a couple more things to address real quick. We're just winding down for the last 15 minutes. We're going to leave that last 5 minutes for something. But what I had here next was for a woman to have the ability to leave the titles at the front door along with her shoes and be able to embrace the needs of the family and the home. How important is that to you, and how do you feel about that? You need me to repeat it?
Nope. That's right on. I feel as if my companion, my mate, can love our offspring the same that I would want to love them, or I expect them to be loved. Since we are a unit, I have to look at her the same way. How do I want her to show love to my kids? I have to lead in that. I have to show her that type of love that I want to be reciprocated to my children.
Okay. And I
Feed
like
me,
that.
love me, and you know the
He
rest.
said, feed me. That was on my list. Hey, look, that was on my list. Like, and that's one of my requirements. The spiritual part is very, very important. But, I want some healthy meals throughout the day, throughout the week, not just one. And I may not necessarily want, a bag dinner. Right. So do you have the ability to come into my life and spread some love in the kitchen? Right. And some beautiful things happen in the kitchen while you're cooking. We're having conversations and, you may just hand me the chopping board and I'm doing the onions. Right. So just ability to slow down enough. Right. To embrace and love on your home. Right. So I'm going to repeat that. Just the ability to take the titles that you have, your accomplishments, and leave them at the front door with your shoes. Right? And then love and embrace on the home. That is very important to me. Now, when you get back up, you can put them back on. I'm cool with shoes. But just that ability to say, hey, I'm going to leave this at the front door because it's a need here. And it's just burning in me to provide that. So that's very, very important. So rewinding down, is how important is that to you in a few words, Randy?
That's very unique. What you just wrote, that's very deep. And when you just said that, what really popped up to me was about this short story of this man, right? Of this man having a hard time throughout his journey of the day. He didn't got in a car accident. He lost his job. He lost a lot of things, and he went through a lot within one day. Mm-hmm. But when he came home, he brought a stranger home. It was a homeless woman. Mm-hmm. He brought her home, and he told her, listen, I'm going to go into the house and get you something to eat. I'll be right back. But when he walked up to the porch, he rubbed his hand on the tree. Mm-hmm. He rubbed his hand on the tree. And when he got in the house, he gave his wife a hug and kiss, and he got the young lady some food. And when he brought the food back outside, the young lady asked him, why did you rub on that tree? Mm-hmm. And he said, I had to rub on the tree because I had to leave all the hardships and all the obstacles and everything throughout that day outside of this household.
There you go, right there. So that's that ability to bring the peace. While we're winding down, I do want to talk about this, and this is something that I've heard often and talking with my friends. Ladies, your happiness is not predicated on us. That's up to the individual. It is up to you to find peace in the quality time and joy that we spend together. Remember that, right? And you will never have to leave out of a relationship saying I wasn't happy. You don't make me happy. It was never our responsibility. You find joy and quality time and time spent. So we can just get rid of that narrative. We'll find out that maybe some relationships will hang on a little bit further than what they have been. Yeah. And when you really think about it, it is up to the individual, right? Never place that much responsibility on another person, your happiness. But to find joy out of moments spent together, I can handle that.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Chef, I just want to say one more quick thing. Mm-hmm. I shared that story, right? I shared that powerful message, and this is what I want to share with the young ladies that are searching and seeking for that special man in their lives. I gave y'all that scenario, that story, because I'm trying to enlighten y'all on when y'all are placing yourself in a position and have an opportunity to court, or get courted by a man. Leave all your baggages in the past, because y'all not giving the man the opportunity to show y'all who we truly are. Yeah. Because you taking on the baggage from the past relationships and your life, so you're going to miss out on that blessing at that particular time because you holding back. You hold on to all the past things, and that's what a lot of us do in life, and we miss out on a lot of blessings. So, I want to thank you, Quita.
Yeah, thank you for that. And that story was powerful. But once again, before we wrap this up, we just been sharing some things from a man's perspective on requirements that we find attractive in women. And hopefully, ladies, if you've been listening and you're listening a little bit later, you can realize maybe some of the things that you value to be important, maybe to men are not so important. Maybe it's a certain amount of requirement in it, but it's not the decision making that gets you out to Jared somewhere, purchasing that ring, right? I know I've been married before, so when your man is purchasing that ring, he just visualized, man, this woman is supportive. She believes in me. She got encouraging words. That's what make you drop that money.
Yes, sir.
It really do. Like, man, this woman looks amazing, man. She take care of her physical and spiritual health. Man, now I can see later on in life, this is what I'm seeking.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's what make a man drop that money. He'd be like, it's a little bit more than what I wanted to spend. However, let's do this.
It's work. It's going to
So
be work.
I wanted to share a poem that I wrote, and it just happens to be the title of the show, and it's called Special Order. Let's see what's on this menu. Intoxicating feminine energy. Now, that sounds delicious. Strong in accountability. Secure with her sexuality. Damn. Aware of her spiritual purpose. She understands and does not misuse her beauty. Replacing the independent for the responsible mindset. Ability to recognize and submit to her prayer blessing. To protect her true God-given value. Embrace and comprehend Proverbs 31. Yes, Lord. Desire to be led instead of entertained. The ability to forgive as she's taking her last breath. Now, that sounds like the answer to my prayers. And if you're out there, allow me to be the answer to your prayers. Love your future husband.
Come on now. All right, now. Come on now. Come on now, Steph.
That sister heard that.
This is getting out of hand, brother. Brother, you just set the
What
whole...
we say at work.
You know what it is.
Thank you.
You know what it is.
Mr. Wright saying it all the time. When
Yes,
you
sir.
see one thing, you know what it is.
That's right.
And it's time that we take the gloves off, right? And the reason why I say that, we getting this together. I want to see more marriages. And if you've been married before, once I said to myself, I said, man, I don't know if I have any more I do's left in me. I do for the proper Miss Wright, right? They're here, They had been in transparency hid behind situations and hurts and disappointing moments in my life. But I've learned for those things and I put them behind me. So I encourage anyone who's listening, put those things behind you, right? And we taking the gloves off. We talking to this thing. We have integrity about it, but we talking to this thing, right? Nobody's going to be out here being successful by themselves because you got to come home to what? Hearing the echo of the door closed, no one welcoming you, a hug, right? Not the ability to have somebody before you lay down at night pray with you, pray over you. Really? No, we're not doing that part because you need covering at the end of the day and when you leave out, going out to the course of the day, right? So that's what we promote and that's what we doing in this community. And I mean that.
All right.
You see what I'm saying?
Real, brother.
That's
Yeah.
right. Now, this time around, I'm going to get back on a horse, but I'm just going to make sure that saddle is buckled properly, right? Because I ain't falling off, right? You know what I'm saying? Because when you fall off a horse, it hurts.
That's right.
You hear what I'm saying?
That's right, my
Right.
brother.
And we talked about that.
Yes, sir.
Even Randy encouraged me, like, Fred, you got this, man, right?
Yes, sir.
So we're going to encourage everybody to meet us back here next Wednesday. Q, we always thank you for believing in us, our listening audience who chiming in, believing in us, kind of embracing us. We just expect you guys to come back next time. Mr. Wright, I'm going to welcome you back on. I love your energy I have from the beginning,
Thank you,
right?
brother.
You're permanent here, and I love your energy.
Yes, sir. Love you
And
too, brother.
I just want to send out condolences to Polo's father passed away last week, which is your uncle.
Yes, sir.
So just send some prayers out to his family, his heart. This thing is real. We're all life certified here. So I'm not really into talking about current events, things that happen on the news, because in no way is it embracing what we want in life, right? I'm not talking about what happened. We're talking about what's going to be.
There we go.
You hear what I'm saying?
Speaking into existence.
That's right. That part right there, right, with transparency. So we thank you. Q always say, you know, we love you. It's nothing you can do about it. And you can't. And then remember this, listen, the audience. What people think about you is none of your business.
All right.
Come on now.
You hear what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
It's none of your business.
Yes, sir.
So we just thank you guys. In closing, because we still got a few more minutes. Your first time being on a show, real quick in a couple words, you know, how do you feel about the experience?
This was a fire opportunity. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you. I'm loving the vibes on this show. I love the message. We're gonna reach some souls.
That's right. Randy, I know you have something to say. I ain't.
Yes, sir. I just want to leave off by saying this. This poem right here is for the women out there.
Oh, that poem, you like that?
To the black men.
Yes.
All right.
From the black men,
Yeah.
I mean.
Yes,
It's called,
absolutely.
it's entitled Give Us a Chance. Our attraction for one another is mutual and obvious, yet prevented from being as one due to unfortunate circumstances, which I hope and trust will soon no longer prolong our unity. Give us a chance. You continue to avoid and ignore the curiosity that has carried you even beyond your own imagination in unfulfilled fantasies. There is nothing I can say to convince you to have trust and faith in what is unknown and has yet to be proven. For your decision has already been made that there is nothing good that can result in the possibility of us. You once told me that you cherish our friendship, so why stop now? Everything you ever seek, wanted, or needed within a man is right here within us. So please, my black sisters, give us a chance.
Oh my God, man! You know,
I love
these vibes, these gems.
it. Yeah.
We can't make this up. This is about as organic as it get.
Yes, sir.
That was
You
fire.
feel what I'm saying? And that's the goal, to change the perspective on how society sees black men.
All right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So
Appreciate it.
this is what's trending. You
gonna make it
understand what
happen.
I'm saying?
We gonna make
So
it
we
happen.
just thank you guys. I guess we'll go out with a little music. Q, once again, thank you. I think Q also have another poetry and conversation coming up. I want to make it down, Q, because I hadn't made it. So, yeah, I'll make it down. You coming down also?
Yeah, I got to come down too. I know you
like
gonna
to
kill
join?
me.
I plan on coming, man. I was supposed to come to the last one. Life came and did its thing. So
That's a life be life, man.
Life came and put the brother in the head like for a minute, but they
Put you in the
just
headlock.
released the grip.
Oh, man.
there you go.
Yeah, it put
There
me
you
in the
go.
headlock and slam.
Get back off the mat.
Hold on, tired of brother.
Get back off the mat. Yeah.
So once again, we just thank you, and we'll see you next week.